obviously just going strength to strength here in Australia. So there was the big, I don't know if you'd call it a shock. I guess it was inevitable, really. The nation's capital, Canberra, and the Australian Capital Territory went into a 7-day lockdown with cases reported there. And yeah, again, I think there was a feeling of inevitability with this, given the ACT is not in the middle of New South Wales, but the idea is there. It's only Canberra's only 300 kilometres roughly from Sydney, where everything's happening, and what sort of stuck out at me was that Canberra and the ACT haven't effectively had any cases since probably that initial outbreak last year, and I think it was kind of a wake-up call for them because, you saw all the classic signs again, the panic buying, the rushing, to get themselves locked down and all that sort of thing. And maybe, you don't want to wish, bad health comes on people, but in some ways it's a little bit of a, like anywhere really that hasn't been touched. Like the Northern Territory saw this recently as well, where they'd never experienced these like Delta cases, etc., or whatever cases that were there, and it kind of reminded everyone that they too can be touched by it too.
Yeah, well, I think for Australia now, COVID's getting serious, and it's not the COVID it was last year. This is the Delta strain. It's sort of changing the dynamics, and it's showing that when you've got a really infectious strain, it's really hard to keep out. And I think we're seeing now across the country, we're seeing the country and the states individually wrestle with it. And I think, further outbreaks this year are just not out of the question.
Yeah, and I think that's also tied with the fact that, our vaccination rate's been quite slow. So that's sort of like the double whammy with this because, given that Australia was undertaking a suppression strategy with the virus, that in the face of low vaccination numbers, the only option left over was lockdowns. And, effectively, Queensland isn't in lockdown anymore, but, effectively they only had a lockdown recently too. So you're talking potentially more than half the country now being affected by this. So, yeah, like you said, it is getting serious.
Well, yeah, and as one state comes out of lockdown, it's just as likely that another one will go in. And that's what we've seen over the last month. Yeah. South Australia go in, come out, Queensland in and out. Victoria, surprisingly, still locked down or locked down again. Yeah. It's and New South Wales really wrestling with a caseload that's starting to build up now. And I think, suppression worked for us really well last year when, it wasn't Delta, and I think when you've got a really infectious strain, I think all of us now are coming to appreciate that we need to get vaccinated. We need to get vaccinated as soon as we can with whatever we can get hold of, and that we've still got a long way to go, because even getting to 80% will, I think, bring a lot of questions about how we open up even then, because you're still looking at least 2-3 million people nationally who would be eligible unvaccinated, and that that's going to have a health impact as well.